Welcome to Weight Loss and Wellness for Real, the podcast where people like you get the practical solutions and support you need to permanently lose the physical and mental weight so you can feel better and live the life you want in the body and mind you want. If you're looking to overcome your stress eating, overeating, binging behaviors, and move to a place of freedom with food and your body, you're in the right place. Hey there, just real quick before we start the show, a reminder to head over to my website at heatherheynen.com. Heynen is spelled Heynen, and sign up for my free monthly newsletter on all things well-being. It's a really short and sweet newsletter focusing on creating healthy habits around mind, body, and soul. And also, I always include a protein-forward recipe as well as links to discount codes to products and companies that support this podcast. Head over there, sign up now. Okay, so let's get on to the episode today. Today's episode is a follow-up coaching call with Stacie, and you're going to hear her kind of revisit where she's at from some of the things we talked about last time in her in the initial coaching call that was recorded for this. She and I have had quite a few other coaching calls that were not recorded, but the one that you would have heard a few weeks ago, and then this one, we really did stick to the same topics, so you can kind of see what her progression has been and where she's at. So if you haven't listened to the first coaching call with Stacie, go back and listen to that. That was, I believe, about 3 or 4 episodes ago. You'd want to listen to that one first and then come back to this one. All right, on with the show. Hi, everyone. Guess what? I have a lovely discount code just for you, my listeners. The code is 10 off. That's 10OFF, and it will get you 10% off any one of my online courses, which now include Mastering Mindful Eating, Overcome Binge Eating, Overeating, and Emotional Eating for Good. And I also have a course on When You Want to Stop the Weight Loss Medication, a comprehensive guide to weight maintenance and mastery. So if you've maybe lost some weight using a medication and you're now wanting to go off the medication but keep the weight off, this is the course for you. And any course you buy, you keep the course for a minimum of 3 years, maybe longer. It just depends on how many are purchased. All courses are self-paced, and I promise you they are practical, meaning they don't just tell you what you need to do. You actually engage in the skills and strategies needed to make actual lasting behavior change. You learn how to do the what. Okay, all courses have multiple modules with multiple lessons. All include lots of examples, tips, and tricks to make things simple and clear. And you also get lots of downloadable resources, including the daily planning template that I use with my own clients, the exact protocol to use after a binge or an overeat has occurred to minimize its damage on your body and your mind. There are protein cheat sheets, research-based journaling prompts, and the literal how-to checklists on the skill you are learning about. And with the weight maintenance course, you also have a movement module that will help you figure out how to make a movement plan that fits your particular lifestyle and level of fitness. And you also have a natural appetite regulation module. So whether if you have never tried an online course to change behavior, or if you have, I just highly would recommend that you try one of these. I've put my heart and soul into both of them. They are all research-based, and now you can get 10% off. So again, that code is 10OFF. If you're ready to make changes that last, you can go to my website, heatherheynen.com. Heynen is spelled Heynen. And from the main menu, click courses, and it will get you to where you want to go. Or you can click on the links in the episode description below the show. And again, as soon as you're there, when you're ready for checkout, just enter the code 10OFF, 10 off. And just a reminder, I also have an ebook cookbook that is now available. It's called Protein Forward Easy Recipes. It includes all high protein recipes, including breakfast and sweet treats full of protein and lunches and dinner. Okay, so again, head to my website. It's probably the easiest thing to do, heatherheynen.com. Heynen is spelled Heynen. And from there, go to courses or the cookbook. And again, use code 10OFF at checkout.
Hi, Heather.
Hey, Stacie, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
Mm, I'm good too. We're even getting started a minute early.
What do you know?
Yeah. Well, I thought maybe we would just go. Well, I was just going to go over a little bit, kind of what we talked about in our last coaching session, and then we can kind of maybe see how you're doing with those things and then move forward from there. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that sounds great. I was even trying to look back at my
I
notes from
know.
last time, like, okay, it's been a month or a little
Yes.
more.
Yeah.
So,
So the two things that we talked a lot about, the first one was going to social events, and we kind of talked about you having a general plan before social events where there's going to be food or whatever, so that you can
hmm
kind of stick to how you want to be eating at those things. But we did talk a lot about how to keep that plan kind of flexible so that you're not feeling restricted and those sort of things. And
sure.
then the second big one we talked about was it was a little deeper. That was more about that identity piece in regards to working out and exercise and
hmm
movement,
hmm
and just kind of where your particular season of life, with two little kids, and how that kind of changes things a little bit. So do you maybe want to just speak to how those things are going and where you're kind of at with them right now?
Yeah, so starting first with like the eating at gatherings, well,
Yeah.
we've had the holidays now
Yeah.
come and go, and reflecting back on that, I feel like that went really well.
Oh, good.
Um, and maybe part of it too was because I didn't have a lot of gatherings. I know some of my like I can think one we had, there was illness, we had to
Oh, sure.
cancel, and then the other one, um, yeah, there was definitely things there I wanted to eat,
Mhm.
but I remember just telling myself that I had made dessert and I knew it had the ingredients that I wanted
Mm,
in it. And
right.
so it was like, let's just wait until dessert.
And
Um,
so do you remember, was it hard to do in the moment?
um, I mean, it wasn't like it wasn't easy, but it was
Yeah.
kind of like I didn't keep fighting it. It was just
Yeah,
like,
the
no, I'm not
decision
going to
was
do
made.
this.
I
Yeah.
remember us talking about that last time because it was
Yeah.
almost like it felt like decision fatigue going in. So
Yes.
I guess
Yes.
that would make sense that for you, you had already made the decision. So at least that piece of it wasn't there.
Wasn't there. Yeah, wasn't added on top.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, and when it came to dessert, I can now I'm remembering. I did have like 2.5 pieces,
Okay.
which I
Yeah.
was kind of like, you know what? I didn't eat anything else before. And
Right.
I really like this. And the pieces were small. And
Yep.
so I didn't feel bad about it because,
Awesome.
and I think it helps that I didn't eat all the other stuff before.
Right.
That, like, if I indulged a little bit on this, it felt okay.
Yeah. I think
I
that's
didn't have that, um, like feeling guilty.
yes, which is, honestly, that's kind of the goal, to
Yeah.
not have that guilt or shame after eating food. I always, kind of say that's more, we want to eventually get to that normal, in quotation marks, way of eating, I guess, for those of us who kind of use food a little bit for comfort or whatever.
Mhm.
I mean, that would be the goal, that you can choose to have whatever you want, but it's a very mindful decision. And
Mhm.
that way there isn't the shame and guilt that goes along with it. Kind of sounds like that's what you did in the moment. You were just
Yeah.
you made a very mindful decision, and it was one that you felt good about. And that's what it's all about.
Yes, that definitely helped because I know, like, in the past where if, like, you're just grazing, you're not really thinking about what you're eating,
Hmm.
it's all there, you're talking, you're grabbing, you're eating, like,
Yeah.
that I definitely, one, end up feeling worse, like,
Right.
physically because 'cause I've
Right.
eaten more, but then, yeah, feel just more like, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that." So
Yeah.
I'm glad yeah, it helped. I think it helps me too that I brought the dessert, so I knew what it
Yeah.
was. So I knew
Yeah.
I could hold out for it too.
Yes.
I don't
And
know.
that you would maybe enjoy it. And yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh-huh. For sure. Actually, that's actually another really kind of good strategy. We didn't talk about that last time, but if it is sort of a potlucky thing to be able
Mhm.
to bring something you enjoy. So with
Yeah.
the ingredients that treats your body right, or
Mhm.
kind of nourishes your soul a little bit. That is one way to kind of stay in more, what would we say, a little more in control of our decisions in those
Mhm.
moments. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. That's good to remember too, just having learned from that.
Yeah, right. Well, good. So that sounds positive.
Yeah. Yeah, I do feel good about that.
Okay.
And
And do
then
you
oh,
feel like, sorry, one other thing. Do you
yeah.
feel like that's something, like, will you just keep that general plan in place going forward? Like that works for you?
Yeah, I think, going forward now, I don't know when my next, like, gathering will be where I
Right.
might want to, but, since the last gatherings, I've chosen to eat or, like, eliminate certain foods now for a while, so now I'm kind of in that mindset where if I am at a gathering, I'm probably gonna be bringing my own things, at
Gotcha. Yeah.
least for the foreseeable future for a little bit, so
Yeah. Can you talk about that a little bit? Just because other people are going to be listening to this, like,
sure.
because I'm just huge on not restricting. So can you
Yes.
explain why you are doing some of that?
Yeah, so last year, I chose to eat AIP for, like, 6 weeks.
Right, which
I
is
did
autoimmune protocol, which is a specific diet that eliminates basically certain things that can trigger I mean, you're the nurse, the
it
overimmune reaction.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
really just I just really think it's bringing
anti-inflammatory.
down foods that trigger inflammation in the
Right,
body.
right. Yep.
Um, and so, yeah, since I have asthma and since an illness I've had, it's just been exacerbated and having to add on now another medication and not really wanting that long term, I've just thought, well, maybe if I'm changing the way I eat for a bit, that will help
Yeah.
settle things down.
Right. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, now going forward, and I feel like in a really good place doing this where, the holidays are done and I
Mhm.
really feel motivated. Like, this is what I want to do for my body to just help myself.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel, or like, yeah, see if it helps me. It's going to
Right.
be,
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't,
It's an experiment.
having done it before and knowing the positive effects I had then, I just feel like
Mhm.
I know it's going to help me in some way.
Right.
And
Right.
knowing that it's not going to be long term, but just to kind of help me understand what foods um, help me feel my best.
There you go. I love that too. It's not just understanding what foods don't work for me, it's understanding what foods nourish me and make me
Yeah.
feel amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, there is a level of stress that goes into that, of like, or, I can't say that I haven't felt stressed yet. I've just, because
Mhm.
I've done it before, that certainly helps.
Right.
Knowing like, okay, the stuff that was in my pantry, I just moved it to the basement that I'm
Mhm.
not going to use. And then, had to make an order
Mhm.
to just get some of the things that I can use, like different types of flowers and other things just to have on
Right.
hand. So just preparing a little bit
Yeah, that.
um is helping. And at least like right now I'm kind of just like, what do I want to say? Like easing into it. Like I'm still
Mhm.
eating some foods that aren't like the complete elimination phase, but I don't have everything in my house yet. So um I don't know, it just feels like it's not so black and white. It feels
I love
like
that. Yeah.
like oh, you didn't eat this today, or you ate this today and you shouldn't have, like, you're not
Yeah.
really doing it yet. Like, it's just, I've felt more like, okay, what can I add in? And I've just
Yeah.
been practicing that for the last few days. And so far, I feel really good about like, adding in more greens
Mhm.
and mushrooms and really
Mm.
thinking of like yesterday, I really wanted something sweet.
Uh-huh.
And I've,
Yeah.
I've, just been thinking about, okay, how am I going to nourish my body by the food I'm eating.
Right.
And with the modified AIP elimination phase, you can have rice. So I had a rice cake, and usually I'd put a nut butter on it, but it's like, I
Right.
can't really do that right now. But I had
Right.
honey, and honey is,
Yep.
I think it's
I'm
allowed.
fine.
It might not
It,
be, but I
no,
know,
I'm fine.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
because it's like I remember
Yeah.
thinking like non-nutritive sweeteners, and it's like
Yeah.
honey's actually really.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so I ate that, and it felt good, knowing that okay, my sweet tooth craving was quenched by that, and I didn't feel like I couldn't eat anything, where then
Right.
I'm gonna go really eat something I shouldn't be eating, like an
Right. Right.
Oreo,
Right. That does
So
good. Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like I'm in a good spot when it comes to taking this on and kind of slowly easing into it. And in a
Mm-hmm.
way, kind of having fun. Like today, I didn't have anything planned for lunch. And usually that's not good. That's not good for
Yeah.
me. I need to have a plan. But
Yeah.
I remembered like, okay, I have a recipe that's really quick to eat,
Mm-hmm.
but my meat was frozen. So I had to thaw it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, crap, I shouldn't be eating green peppers. So what do I replace? So I threw in mushrooms instead, and it worked out just fine.
Oh,
So,
that's awesome. Yeah.
it's like, okay,
So,
even though there was a little challenge there, it's like, I figured it out.
yeah. So it's almost it sounds like you're gaining confidence with some of that too. I mean, when a challenge does present itself, because you're not in the black and white thinking,
Mm-hmm.
because you've and we've talked a bunch before, like you've practiced the flexible thinking. You've really done like I would call it the thought work around this stuff in order to get to this space of where you aren't so black and white with it. And that's probably why it feels a little bit easier, where
Yeah,
it's, yeah,
I
it
can.
can just,
So I would agree with that, because there is a part of me still that wants to
mm-hmm,
be like, Stacie, if you're doing this, you need to be doing it all right now,
right, right, right.
and like,
Yeah.
you're not actually doing it yet because you're still eating almond flour pancakes for breakfast, right? And you're not supposed to have almonds. So it's like,
So there's a part.
there is a part of me that wants to
Do
be
you
like,
know what? Do you know what part of you that is?
yeah,
We kind of, yeah,
the perfectionist.
yeah, yeah, totally.
That it's like, I want to do AIP perfectly. And so I'm just trying to remind myself that I will get there. And like,
Yeah,
almond flour is still not gluten. So
yeah,
that is
right.
still a positive.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you really do and have practiced. I mean, what I hear you saying in your head, you are really good when that perfectionist part of you kind of, I would say kind of wants to hop in the driver's seat of the bus,
Mm-hmm.
kind of, we want our authentic selves always driving the bus, and then in the back seat all our different little parts are all back there, and
Mm-hmm.
a time perfectionist part of you wants to be the driver, but you're able in those moments to really self-coach yourself in a way, or think in new ways with new thoughts, where you get to stay in the driver's seat. Like, it's okay that perfectionist part of you is saying those things, but you
Mm-hmm.
don't into it or believe it or let it drive.
Yeah. And I don't think I even realized I was, talking to myself, but now, like, reflecting back, I totally have, like, kind of
Yeah,
just
yeah,
prepping myself and
yep,
reminding myself it's okay. And
yeah,
yeah, I think I have an easier time remembering like all the negative, in my
yeah,
brain,
yeah.
rather than like realizing, oh, I'm actually like
Uh-huh.
coaching myself through it.
Doing it. Yeah, totally. You really, really are. And I love hearing it, because to me, my deal. It's always like how we talk to ourselves, how
Mm-hmm.
we thoughts we are having really is at that core of behavior change. I mean,
Yeah.
there's aspects, yes, it's like execution of the behavior, and then we can build confidence for more behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's feeling the feelings and allowing them to be there. But that one piece that I think is so sticky for so many of us is that thought work piece, because really the behavior change where it feels more effortless, more easy, comes from
Mm-hmm.
how you are talking to yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I've felt that so far,
Yeah.
where it
Good.
has felt a little more definitely more effortless than the last
Before.
time I've done this,
Yeah.
or even the times where I've told myself, okay, I'm not going to eat X, Y, or Z for a little bit,
Right. Right.
and it's just, yeah, this feels a lot smoother. Like, it feels okay. Like, because I know it's not forever, and it really helps that AIP now has a modified elimination phase where it's like some of the things like cocoa and rice, it's like just having that in is just helpful.
Yeah,
it's not so different than my norm. So
yeah, no, that's wonderful. And I heard you too. I think, you're really clear right now on your, I call them compelling reasons, your why. You're really clear on your why. It's very much like, I'm adding these things in, more of these things into my diet to how I'm eating, because it really is about nourishing my health. It's really this understanding. I'm not restricting, because when I do these things, I gain health, I gain energy, I feel good, those sort of things.
Yeah. And I definitely feel like I've eaten more in the last few days than I normally do, which is actually surprising.
Right. Yeah.
Just having that mindset of like, yeah, what can I put into my body that's going to help it?
Yeah, for sure. And how are you gonna, we didn't talk about this before, but how are you planning to kind of, I'm just thinking people listening might be curious, or this could be helpful for them. Like, how are you planning to incorporate that within the family? Because will the family this way? Or?
Yeah, we actually just kind of had a little bit of tension at lunch because my husband hates mushrooms, and I just poured the mushrooms right in, like not even thinking.
Right.
So I did kind of say, I don't know, but usually like kind of what we do is like, I'm cooking, we're all eating it. Like, I mean, that's just how it is. Like, I might, give my children different things that I know they're going to eat if I expect that they won't like eat like sauteed kale, right? I'll still put it on their plate, but I might give them mandarin oranges or something where I'm not going to eat that. So I don't know. I did say out loud at lunch today, like, oh, I wonder, like, should I make a meal for myself where it's like, then maybe I eat that for lunch every day, knowing that those are my leftovers. But I asked that question to my husband, and he literally said something along the lines of, "You ask such hard questions." And I'm like, yeah, these are the things I have to think about. And so I just kind of went from that. Well, I think I'll just, I'm the cook.
Yeah.
This is what we're eating right now. I don't know. Well, maybe that's a little selfish, but it's just like, I feel like it's at least good for my kids to have exposure to lots of things. And so we typically eat a lot of probably different things.
So maybe it's a really good way to, you could think about that part of it, like with the family and what they're eating. Like, this is a little experimental too. Sort of like, we're going to do it this way right now, and let's see how that goes, know?
And I should say, like, my husband ate the meal today with a bun, where like, I didn't eat it with a bun. So like, there will be some of that in there too.
Have other things that you are just not going to have at this time.
Yeah.
I love that.
So yeah, I haven't thought about that too much, but I feel like since my daughter doesn't eat gluten or dairy, that's just kind of been our norm. Like, some people have this and some people don't have that at our dinner tables.
Yeah.
Which is okay. Yeah. That feels a little more like it just is what it is.
Yeah. I'm also, I'm thinking about, I work with a couple other families. This is different health things, but who have children with diabetes. And so coaching them through, how to, it is a thing. Like, how do you do that as a family? Because they're having to live a whole different food lifestyle for their children. Kind of, so similar in nature. But it is like everybody, has to kind of figure out what works best for them as a family. And there is, like in these other families I've worked with, there is some trial and error in that and experiment. figuring out, because I'm thinking of one family where they've eventually, this has been going on for about a year trying to figure it out, but they eventually landed on almost everyone is having a different meal. And then the other one where it's like, there's no way that would work, wouldn't even be possible.
Sure.
Like person preparing meals to be able to do that.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think it's all individual and what works, but mostly experimenting.
Yeah, I would agree with that. At least for us, it has just kind of been, our experience was, unfortunately, the beginning just felt really hard and lots
Yeah.
of energy was going into it. Like, how do I do this? Because it's so different.
Yeah.
But yeah, thankfully now it's kind of just, we've learned what works and what doesn't.
Yeah. So to your point, that has taken time. This, I
Yeah,
mean, it has been
almost going on a
you know,
year. So
for first, it was like, it's hard,
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
thought and a lot of
Planning,
yes,
prepping.
yeah,
Right.
and yeah, talking to myself too of like, how am I going to do this, and this is okay,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Right. Yeah. All those things. Well, what about the piece around the identity and working out? Where have
Hmm.
you kind of landed with that part that we talked about last time?
Yeah, so December, because I think we last talked like the end of November, and
Right.
December ended up being a super weird month where
Mm.
my kids were sick and then my husband and I were sick. So I don't know if I ever intentionally moved my body the whole month.
I bet. I know
Um,
what December was like. I would think probably you didn't.
yeah.
Or
So, and I actually don't feel bad about it.
that is the best
That
part.
is surprising because, there was a part of me that's like, well, I'll just get back to it when I can. And,
Yes.
yesterday I did. So yesterday was the
Oh,
first time I walked on the treadmill for 30 minutes, and I haven't, done that in at least a month. And
good for you.
um,
Right.
have made a plan. I've reconnected with my friend about getting back,
Walking.
because yeah, we didn't do anything all December. So getting back in the just swing of what we had been doing, meeting once a week together for
Yep.
something. And then I would usually do something on my own another day. And that's kind of
Yep.
where I was at, is like at least, strength training 15 to 20 minutes twice a week. And if I got walks in or whatever other
Yeah.
times of the week, that was just kind of a bonus.
So I want to just reiterate, because to me, the biggest piece of this is that it was okay for you. It wasn't the month of December, or looking back on the month of December, isn't thoughts like, oh my gosh, I, regret not doing anything,
Yeah, or
or
failed.
yeah, exactly. Or even being upset, like everybody was sick and I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
You just really held those thoughts and that mindset of, it's fine. This is how it is, and I'll get back to it. And that's probably why you were able to get back to it yesterday. I mean, I
Yeah.
just find when we hold those struggle thoughts or the regrets, it's like that's what keeps us from engaging then.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're yeah, I would agree with that, because I know, times that I've felt like I failed or I didn't stick to the plan that I
Mm-hmm.
said I was going to, or, then it's like, I don't want to start again because I don't want to
Yeah,
fail again
it's the
or
screw it
stop
mode.
again. Yeah.
Exactly. It's the screw it mode, because what you just said is exactly it. Psychologically, it gets into this looping of this fear of failing
Mm-hmm.
again.
Mm-hmm.
So don't engage. We don't do the thing. And a little bit, I mean, we could even use the term a little, like that's when people talk about self-sabotage, that's kind of what's going on in the background. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I do remember thinking like, shoot, I want to be working out, but I
Yeah.
just kind of knew that what I needed in the times of, losing sleep for my kids and
Yeah.
feeling good myself. And then you have
Yeah.
the dynamic of your schedule changing when kids are home from school. And
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
just
Right.
like, you know what? This isn't happening, but it will
Yeah.
happen again, so.
Yeah. To me, as we're talking, and I didn't mention this the other when we were talking before, but I'm just overall, I am noticing like you really do have a lot more almost compassionate language with yourself. And actually, last time when we talked and recorded,
Mm-hmm.
we talked about, I'm just remembering this now as we're talking, we talked about you do really well with neutral thinking. Do you
Oh,
remember when we
yeah. Yeah.
that? Yeah. So, which we know you do well with
Mm-hmm.
that, but I am just sort of, and maybe you can disagree with me,
Sure.
but it's like listening to you. It's like, I think you've practiced the neutral thinking enough to where you are moving into that more, like self-compassion, like
Mm-hmm.
taking care of yourself. Like, so even when you were sick and the family was sick and, you know, you get those thoughts that come up, I wish I was, but it's okay. I need this. I need rest, whatever
Mm-hmm.
that is, versus being hard on yourself for not doing the other things. So
Yeah,
anyway,
I can see that because
observation.
compassionate talk does not come easy for me, or it's
Right.
not
I know.
natural. So
Yeah.
getting to neutral is even effort. So
Yeah.
even just thinking like neutral could lead to more compassionate talking is
Yeah.
obviously where I want to be.
Yeah, it does. I mean, that's why we're always kind of practicing that neutral
Mm-hmm.
self. But it is just interesting listening to you just now. It's like, yeah, I think you're moving in that direction for sure,
Yeah. Well,
which is cool.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what else? Where are you kind of like, where do you want to go with this coaching call, and what are you thinking future wise, and where are you at?
Well, I mean, for me, I would say the biggest things on my like mind right now are walking this road of eating AIP, and then also actually sticking to the strength training twice a week.
Okay.
Because both, just even though I was doing the working out, it just feels like here I am starting both of these things again, right?
Right.
So I don't know, anything to help make that a reality.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about a little bit about the AIP real quick, because that's the one that sounds like I mean, you've prepped, you're planning, you kind of went with that one.
Yeah.
I would just reiterate kind of what we touched on, but your thoughts around it are going to be the most important part. So
Mm-hmm.
you have the non-restrictive thoughts going, meaning you're focusing on what you're adding in, what you're nourishing the body, but so all those things are really good.
Mm-hmm.
That lessens any restrictive thinking. But so all that practice, all that, making sure, the deal. It's like our thought work stuff, you do have to practice it and be
Yeah.
intentional with it. So, it could be something where maybe you're just going to have a daily sentence that you say to yourself in the morning about it, like,
Yeah, I like
maybe,
that idea.
yeah, like maybe it's your compelling reason. Like, I am doing this today and I'm eating in this way today because, and you can write out what that compelling reason would be, but
Yeah.
something along the lines of nourishing, my body, my energy levels, kind of what we talked about
Mm-hmm.
before. So you could maybe start with something like that, like an actionable step that sort of keeps you in the daily mindset. Because in a way, this is a little bit like, can you think about just sort of doing it day by day, like one day?
Yeah. I think that will be most helpful for me if I take it day by day, because
Yeah.
thinking about it, if I think too many days in a row, I think it'll just be overwhelming.
Yeah, exactly. And then too, because last time we talked and we did mention that, and then you said it's a little hard though sometimes to think about it day to day, because then it's like, is that gonna let me, I don't remember, like off
Yeah.
the book a little bit or something?
Yeah,
Have you
like if I'm just
got
day to
up?
day, will I actually, you know, meet my goal, or like what is my goal then, right?
Right.
Um, but I do think just keeping it day by day in the moment,
Yes.
knowing that maybe there's a goal of a week, 2
Okay.
weeks,
I love that.
kind of building
I
on
love
it.
that. And I would suggest maybe just keep it at a week,
Yeah. Yep.
And then you could do the other thing too, where I mean, this is all in how you're thinking about it, but where you're doing this day to day, like the thought is going to be one day at a time.
Mm-hmm.
But every morning, if you're sort of refreshing your thoughts about it, that is what's going to help you stick with it through the day. And then that's how you build upon your days,
Yeah.
So it may be, you can say a week, but you maybe don't even need to, because if you're going day by day and you have sort of this idea of you're going to refresh your thoughts about it every morning, then we know more than likely you will be doing it day to day. Like you might have up here and there, but that's all normal anyway. That doesn't mean you don't have to engage in it the next day.
Right. You can just pick back up.
Yeah. So I guess my point is, I mean, you'll have to experiment with this too, but my guess is if you stay focused on day to day, I don't think it's going to make you quit. I don't think it's going to be like, well, I don't have a goal, so forget it. Because you do kind of have a goal.
Yeah. It just happens to be day by day.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. It doesn't have to be some long timeline out there at all. So, yeah. Anything else on that one that you feel? I mean, because like I said, you do seem really planned and prepped and ready to go with it.
Yeah. Thinking through even more logistics of like, okay, Mondays I buy groceries, so
right.
Mondays I'm going to prep.
Yeah.
My produce, and just making sure I have the food on hand that I need to be eating. I mean, that's so basic, but like it has to happen.
True. Yeah. Well, I mean, some of the coaching I do is literally on the planning piece, so it is basic, but man, it has to happen if you're something like this. Okay. So you kind of have that nailed down for Mondays. We talk through like, what's the plan for if you do get an urge or a craving and you're and these parts of you fighting, right? Like, I really think, but I really want to stick to my plan.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I kind of had that yesterday when I had that
right.
rice cake with some honey. So now I know, like, okay, that is actually really good. So
awesome.
I have another option. And I think practicing to, like, I'm trying to remember the last time, what did I do? I reminded myself, like, okay, I felt this urge, like I wanted to eat something. I don't remember what it was actually. But it was probably chocolate, probably. Popcorn and chocolate. It might have been that. Popcorn and chocolate chips. Yeah. And so then it was like, let's just, wait, drink some water.
Right.
I know that I did not drink the water. I waited.
Right. And the urge passed.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So maybe a couple, so two things that you can kind of have in your back pocket for those situations. If and when the urge hits, you have a couple of subs that you can use. Because don't you have a
chocolate candy bar too? Yep, I found a candy bar that I could do.
That's compliant. Yeah. Yep. Okay, so that, and then you have the rice cake with honey. You have a couple.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I really like dates.
Yeah.
I mean, I know, like, I don't eat them now when I want something sweet, but I so remember when I did AIP last year. Yeah. That my, like, palate changed after a few weeks. Definitely. And, like, I just could not, like, dates were just like the most amazing thing. They are so sweet and they just tasted so good. So I'm sure I'll get there again. So I know I bought those to have on hand.
Okay, great. So you are prepared for that. And then the other the other strategy you could have in your back pocket is the urge surfing that we have talked about.
Yeah. Urge surfing.
Yep. Where you sit with that urge, set the timer 90 seconds, 2 minutes. You're just going to sit with it. And then you're telling yourself in that time frame, if I still want it after the 90 seconds, 2 minutes, I can have it if I choose to, because that just keeps the anxiety level down. But really just so the brain learns, oh, this is just an urge. It's just a sensation through the body, and makes it typically easier to make a different decision after you sit through it for that long. Now, not always. You may have the thing, and that's okay too. But it's just the idea that you keep trying to train the brain to deal with the urge so that so the urges get less intense.
Yeah.
But also to your point, when you do eat in this way, absolutely your palate's going to change. So you will probably find your urges for those things are a lot less intense already. Just, I mean,
Yeah.
thinking of how it works in the body,
Yeah. I know I definitely experienced that before.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. So maybe those two strategies in your back pocket.
Yeah, I wrote those down.
Okay, good. And then let's do the next one. You talked about sticking to the strength training 2 times a week. What would be the obstacles that you're thinking could come up for that one?
Well, right now, like yesterday I walked and that felt like, okay, that's something I can do is walk.
Yeah. Yes.
There is a part of me that's like, okay, it's been a month again, how do I mean, my brain wanted to say, how do I do this? But I know how to do this. I have an app that I use and that I really like. And I just have to do it. I guess it just feels a little bit like, restarting something again.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm probably going to be sore, or I usually, I know that like when I do open up the workout, it's like, I want to do everything on it, but I know that, the last time I was doing this, I really started listening to my body, and it was like, if I couldn't do all the reps or all the things, I just went for the 20 minutes.
Perfect. And we did chat about this last time too.
Yeah. And that actually was so helpful because I just remember like, I wasn't so sore where it was like, because before I would do the whole thing and I'd be so sore where it was like, when I'm supposed to do it the next time, I just felt like I couldn't work out again.
Yeah.
And so cutting it back, even though that feels a bit like, oh, I'm not doing it all, I'm not doing enough.
Part we just know. Yeah.
Yeah. I lost my train of thought. So yeah, it just feels like I'm not doing enough, but actually it's probably I'm doing what I need to be doing, because when I started doing that, I could tell that, yes, I was sore the next day, but it wasn't like so sore where I like, couldn't walk down the stairs or sit on the toilet or, all the things.
Yeah. Right. So let's have you stick with kind of what we talked about last time, but as you get going with this, like it's just, so you're setting yourself up for something really doable. So it's just twice a week. And I'm going to say just 10 to 15 minutes. If you want to do more, that's fine. But like in your head, the goal would just be 10 to 15 minutes. And then like what you were saying, to be able to really practice just doing enough for your body, not overdoing it, to practice not overdoing it. Like really, that's the goal, not to go forward, not to get too sore. And then in your head, sorry.
I'm still here. Yep. No, that's okay.
Okay. Yeah. So in your head saying things like, I am this is a practice in nourishing my body. This movement, this strength training is about nourishing my body.
Oh, I love that.
Okay, good. And
that's my word of the year, nourishment.
Yes.
Like, even though I might not be doing the whole what it says, 30 minutes, all the moves, I'm still doing what my body needs at this time.
Exactly. Yep. And when we nourish our bodies, that does mean we listen to our bodies and we give it what it needs, and we don't push it into a place where it's in pain.
Yeah.
So maybe sticking with that. And then, like I said, just making sure in your head, it's very doable. So twice a week, 10 to 15 minutes is what you're telling yourself. And you're welcome to do a little bit more if that's nourishing your body.
Yeah. And I usually find that once I kind of get in the groove again, then it does kind of become part of my, like, it's in my head. I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
It is something that I'm doing more of. Like, I might be doing the strength training, but then I also might be doing some extended stretching or some walking or whatever. So it just kind of adds to it, or it builds.
Yes, for sure.
In time.
Yeah, you really just need, I always think when I'm coaching people, it's kind of like if I can just get almost a week, 5 to 7 days of routine under someone's belt, there's usually a lot of momentum that will then carry that person forward through the month, So it is just kind of that first week, just getting things. But that's also why the doable goals are so important, because you have to actually be
Yeah.
able to get those things under your belt to create the momentum. If you're setting way too high expectations or too hard on yourself, it's like, then we don't do it. And then we get into the screw it mode, or, the fear of failing. So
Mm-hmm.
got to be doable.
Yeah. And this
Okay.
is doable.
Yes. Good. All right. Anything else you can think of, or do you feel like you have stuff to go on?
Oh yeah, I definitely have things to go on.
Okay.
I don't think I have anything else.
Okay. So we covered what you wanted covered.
Yeah, we did.
All right. Awesome. Well, we'll see how it goes, and we'll talk again in a few weeks, 4 weeks, and see where you're at.
Okay. That sounds like a plan.
All right. Great to talk to you, Stacie.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, Heather.
Okay. See ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed listening to this coaching session with Stacie. I have gotten a lot of really good feedback from all of you saying you kind of like this format, so I hope I can do more of this in the future. I know it's really nice to be able to listen to someone else being coached, and to also understand that you're not alone in the issues and dealing with food. And hopefully you yourself can take away some ideas on how to implement maybe some behavior change or different ways of thinking in your everyday life to really help you get the results that you're looking for. All right, until next week, we will talk soon. Did you know you can find a lot more help from me on my website? Go to heatherheynen.com. Heynen is spelled Heynen, and get in touch with questions on all things I offer, like online courses for overeating, weight loss, goal attainment, and also my coaching and counseling services. Just a reminder that this podcast represents my own opinions. The content here should not be taken as medical advice. The content here is for educational and informational purposes only. Please consult your doctor or healthcare professional for any individual medical questions you may have.